Hi and welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. Today I'm excited to be able to bring you a new feature here. We're going to be having Maymay mail art on a regular basis here as part of my guest design team with Maymay Made It. So let's take a look at our first Christmassy design. So the first thing we need to do is stamp out on our envelope to create our Maymay mail art. I'm using this wonderful snowed out stamp set. Love these two snowmen on here. Do keep these window sheets. You'll have seen me find lots of uses for them in other videos. I just have a regular nice white thick envelope in here that I got from Simon Says Stamp. I'll link those ones up for you. I am going to pop these snowmen either side, like so. And I'm also going to put my snowed out about it here at the bottom. So they fit nicely across the bottom of my envelope. Like so. And because I have that in the middle, in the guide here, if it does move when you lift your stamps up, you can just pop it back down in there. I'm going to be stamping with VersaMark, and I'm going to be using some Ranger Superfine black embossing powder, which we can then use to colour in our images. I'm going to ink it up nice and thoroughly. I'll also give you some tips about postage stamps and how to mail these envelopes as well, just from my experience of stamping out envelopes. So I think we've caught everything. I'm just trying to catch the light slightly. I have my nice tiny tray here. You'll have seen again I use this for lots and lots of things. And I'm going to do the same on this side too. And again, I'm just going to give it that usual good flick so you can see there how we have our embossed images. So I'm going to pop this away and heat this with my Wagner heat tool. So here we have our envelope that we just created and heat embossed on here. And I've grabbed some Copic, so I've got a nice selection of colours in here. I've got some nice BGs for that icy look to do the bottom of them. I grabbed some C's that we're going to use on our snowmen. I got some reds and some greens, and then I also have an orange for their carrot noses. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to pop that address on there too. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some roundness to our snowmen. And I'm going to start with a C0, and I'm just going to colour around the edges. Now you want to use a reasonably thick envelope, and I've just popped a piece of paper inside of my envelope just to create that porous effect that we've discussed in our alcohol marker skill builder. So if anything leaks through, it's not going to leak to the back of my envelope, it's going to just leak to that piece of paper inside. Do the same on their faces. So I'm starting with this C0 and I'm kind of sketchily going all over. These are a nice thick envelope, as I say. And then I'm going to go into my C1s and I'm going to start adding some of that side shading. And I know lots of you have asked for tutorials on shading, and we will be doing that as part of the alcohol marker skill builder. So once we've gone through all the different types of pens, we've already discussed inks and papers, we'll then start talking about blending techniques and how to learn how to blend. So currently I am completely self-taught, and I'm actually going on my first ever Copic class, which I'll be on as you watch this video. So I'm off to Columbus this weekend. And I'm going to start learning techniques, and I'm sure I'll learn lots that I can share with you in the skill builder. But up till now, it's just purely practice. I watch a few YouTube tutorials, but apart from that, it really is just practice and just keep playing around, try different things, don't get disheartened. It just requires that bit of extra practice. Like so. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to add the orange noses. Let's do that. So this is a YR07, and I'm not going to add any shading to the nose. I'm just going to go straight in with that. And the great thing about heat embossing, it's very forgiving. If you use a dark color heat embossing, you won't see any of your pens. If you use a light color of heat embossing and you color over it with a pen, that alcohol marker is going to stick to your heat embossing and you will lose that color. So the great thing is though, it prevents lots of bleeding. So it's really great when you're starting out too. So now I'm going over with this R12 all over his band on his hat and on his scarf as well. Like so. And I'm also going to do his gloves. Like so. I'm going to instantly take that dark colour and just add that onto the banding of the gloves. And I think I'll add a little bit into the tips here. And around the edges. I'm also going to add the darker colour just in here. And just kind of starting to outline that image. Because they're smaller areas, you don't need to necessarily go through the colours. This is now an R14. Previously I was using an R17. I'm adding more colour in. I'm going to add that to the band on the hat, and I'm going to leave this piece in the middle to make it look nice and round. I'm going to go back in with that 17 again, just add a bit more shading to those edges. Like so, and then I'm going to go back with that R12 and go over everything and make sure it blends together seamlessly. And you see those pretty pictures on there. Like so. And then the next step I want to do is add some green onto our other snowman. So I'm going to colour his mittens and his scarf with this G21. And then I'm going to use a G24 for those highlights. And again, just go back in and blend with that G21. Just so some of it looks a little bit lighter and darker. Now I'm going to add in some cool shades. So I have my BG and then 4 zeros, a BG01 and a BG02. So I'm going to start by just really sketching all over, and I'm going to pull out some of that grey to add some shadows. You can see there how I can pull that colour out. Because that colour is sitting on top of the embossing powder, when I add more markers, it allows me to pull those shadows out. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Now if you don't want to do that, then don't go over those embossing lines if you coloured them in, because you are going to get that shadow. But in this case, I really like it. And I'm going to add some more of that darkness. So I'm going over my snow doubt about it. And again, I'm just adding that shading in there as well. It'll also pull some of the colour out the embossing powder. It's not going to damage the nibs of your pens, because you can, with Copics, touch nib to nib and graduate colours and things, and you can get some really lovely effects. I'm also just going to fade this out a little bit so it's not a harsh line at the top here. The other great thing about using alcohol markers when you're going to put this through the mail is that it's not going to run, because it's going to come in contact maybe with a little bit of water if it happens to rain, but you're not going to have to worry about it coming into contact with any watercolours and things like excuse me, things like that. So I'm actually adding, you can see, even more shadows with that BG01 and BG02, particularly around those places at Now I'm going to do some shading around the top here, and I'm going to kind of arc it around. So I'm going to just sketch out some lines as to how I want that to look. So I'm just colouring in these areas quite lightly. I almost want it to look like it's a nice icy sky, and covering in a nice proportion there. So Then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to add in some of those darker tones. And I'll blend all of this out in a second. And let's get some BG02. And I really am just touching the edges here. If you get any on your workspace, if you don't have a piece of paper under you, alcohol blending solution or some of the colourless blender from Copic will take that right off. And now I'm going to really work this out and blend it in down here. And now we're ready to start putting in our address, and then we can decide how we want to do this, if we want to pull a bit more of the blue and things in as well. And I'm really excited to show you this. This was a new tool that I found in the Maymay Made It store. This is an EK Success address template. This is what the packaging looks like. And it's sticky, it's plastic, but you can pop this down and it guides you with your addresses. So I put a call out on the Hedgehog Hollow Facebook page, which is facebook.com/hedgehoghollowink. It's still there. Just scroll down and you'll be able to find it. Or you can just search mail art. And I asked for anyone who was willing to have their address put on screen, and lots of you replied, so thank you for that. I've got a nice long list which will allow us to be doing this for a little while. So the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to put this on here, and so I'm going to start with a 2. And I love these Zig calligraphy pens. They come in a pack of 3 and you get different widths. You get the 2 and the 1, 2 and a 3 in there. I use this for everything. If you ever get mail from me, this is what you see on there. So let's do. Copying very carefully. But what it does is it gives you a nice, straight, even address. And I always love a beautifully addressed envelope. And then the great thing about this sticky is you can just peel it off like this. So you can see here, it doesn't rip, doesn't tear, it stays sticky. And they give you a piece of acetate to pop it back onto. So again, I'm going to put this back on here, like so. And I'm just going to go over my D. So you can see there how lovely that looks. There we are. And because my handwriting is quite flicky, I do like to just go back over some of those capitals if that's happened to me there. So I can now go back in. These are alcohol based, these calligraphy markers, so I'm not going to go anywhere near those. If I wanted to do that, then I would just grab a water based Zig probably and do that. But I'm going to just touch in around it a little bit more just to tie it all together. And again, just bring these other colours down. And blending that out with that lightest colour. So I love how that comes out. And I'm also going to just add even more shadow around my little guy here. And the more saturated your envelope is, the more you can move these things around. And it's going to dry really quickly. I also have some beautiful Christmas stamps that we can pop on here. So I've got these lovely ones from the post office. I need to get some snowmen ones because I love my snowmen for Christmas. And now I'm going to pop a card inside. I'm going to leave that card as a secret. So I'm going to do that just off camera. And I'm also going to remove that piece of white paper. So I'm just sliding my card in there and licking that. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you was these gorgeous address labels that I recently purchased. These are from Paper Source. And I got some holiday ones and some just general fun ones, all from the Smith family. So you can see there how our mail art comes out. You can also see on your screen right now some pictures and some close-up pictures and things and some of the supplies we used. I hope you enjoyed our first Maymay mail art. We'll be doing one of these every single month, and I do hope you will join me for some more. You'll also find all your links in the description, plus more links and pictures that you can pin over on the blog. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really have enjoyed doing some mail art with you. I love a pretty picture or a pretty envelope to send out. We've got lots of ideas for lots of seasons, and I will see you again very soon. Do hit that subscribe button. Happy stamping. Bye.